Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel and today I'm doing my bi-weekly wrap-up. So this is my bread and butter, kind of every 2 weeks I check in, talk about what I've been reading, what I'm currently reading, what's on deck, and in the case of this particular week, I do have a couple of films to talk about as well. Yeah, we're gonna just dive right into things this week. I would say this will be probably not too long of a wrap-up video this time. I don't have a ton to talk about, but we're still trucking along. So first of all, books that I completed in the last 2 weeks. I did in fact finish reading Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Ware. I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. I liked it. I thought it was really fun. It's not like the most amazing book I've ever read, but I am thoroughly enjoying and invested in it. I ended up liking the characters quite a bit. I did decide ultimately that I do like Gideon. I think she is an interesting enough character to keep going. With the second book, certainly. I will say that I do still kind of have a problem with the slanginess of the language, and I think part of it is just that I'm getting old. I think I might just be an oldster who is like, the kids these days and how they talk and yada yada. But also, I do feel like when you're writing a book in this kind of slangy, memey kind of style, I feel like it's not really gonna stand the test of time very well. I think that's really my concern with a book like this, is it's like, this is a fun book, but to me this is not an immediate like classic favorite book. And a big part of it, I think, is like the choice of language and the amount of referential stuff that's in here, that in another like 10 years, someone reading this book will probably be reading it and not understanding any of the joke references or anything like that, and it will probably fall flat. I think that's honestly my biggest criticism of this. Otherwise, I think it's fine. It's again, I had a really good time with it. It's very fun. I was not confused by it. Again, one of the things that I see leveled at the Locked Tomb series is that it is quote-unquote confusing. Maybe it gets more confusing as it goes, but I was not confused. This was not... I totally grokked what was going on the whole time. I was never sitting there scratching my head going, what is happening? Why is this happening? Like, do I have the full context of everything? No, obviously not. That's kind of the point, is that you're not really supposed to know exactly what everything is, what the point of everything is. It doesn't hold your hand, right? But no, I wasn't like confused. I wasn't like... Tamsin Ware does a good enough job of explaining what's happening at any given moment that I was never confused. The only thing I can think is that maybe people who do find it confusing are just not used to reading books where you're not supposed to know the whole context, or I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can explain it in the comments if you understand it. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. And so I'll definitely be continuing with this. It ended on the kind of cliffhangery note that certainly makes me want to pick up the second book. So I will be doing that pretty soon, probably. So that's Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Ware. And then I did read in its entirety Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner in the last 2 weeks. This is also another one that is continuing to be enjoyable for me. I quite like the world building of this in particular. So if you're not aware, Sunbringer is the second book in the Fallen Gods trilogy, the first book of which was Godkiller. and the third book of which I believe is called Faithbreaker. So I'll definitely be picking up the third and final book in this trilogy soon as well. I continue to really enjoy this, trilogy, this world. I really like the various political movements going on. I really like the complexity of introducing all of these gods and the people who are against gods and the people who support the gods, and how, that can affect how people act with each other, and the ways in which it explores the concept of faith and the strength that faith can have among people, both for good and for ill, I think is really interesting, and she's doing a lot of interesting work. There's a couple of little quibbles that I have sometimes with her language and her writing style, where it seems sometimes a little abrupt. This was a remainder copy from Book Outlet, so I'm not surprised that there was a few typos in here, but I also feel like there's a couple of, like, every once in a while there's an awkward sentence, I feel like, or something that's not really a typo so much as it's just a quibble with the writing sometimes, I think, where, some of the sentences don't seem to be quite correct, or they're a little bit short, or they're kind of sentence fragments, and it doesn't feel like a stylistic thing to me so much as it just feels like a grammatical inconsistency. But the characters are strong in this. I did feel like a large chunk of this book, our main three characters, Kissin, Elogast, and Inara, are spent apart from each other, whereas in the first book they were like on a journey together. And that sort of brought this one down a little bit in my estimation, despite the fact that, like, I understand the necessity of it for both in terms of the plot, right? The plot has, the three of them needed to be separated for plot reasons, but also because they're each sort of on their own different arcs, and they're each sort of going their own way in terms of their character development. So it makes sense, and I understand why. And when they did come back together, it ended up being very satisfying in a lot of ways. But it did, I did miss the dynamic that the three of them had together for a lot of this book. But nonetheless, I continue to enjoy it, and I will definitely be picking up the third one in this series soon-ish. And then that leaves me with my current reads. I am still continuing to read the giant tome of the Maria Theresa biography. I'm making progress on it. I don't really have much to say about that one, or about the War of the Ring, which I'm also continuing to read. I'll talk about them. I figure I'll talk about them more when I am finished with them. The War of the Ring I'll probably be finished with in the next few weeks. Maria Theresa, I'm honestly not sure. That one might take me through the end of the year, if I'm being honest, but I am working on them. But then my other current read then, which I am a lot closer to finishing, and will certainly have more of a review for you in my next bi-weekly wrap-up, is The Hexologists by Josiah Bancroft. So picked this up. It's been sitting on my physical TBR for a while, and decided that it was finally time for me to just dive into this and check it out. If you're not aware, this is a fantasy mystery, a new fantasy mystery series. This is the first in a new series, and it features a married couple, Isolde and Warren Wilby. And Isolde is a hexologist. She draws hexes. That's her magical ability that she has honed and refined over the years. And Warren is her husband and a certified wife guy. And together they investigate things. They're basically private investigators, a private investigative team who solve sort of magical mysteries. And it's very fun. It's a secondary world fantasy, but it's basically 1920s England with magic. which is super fun. I love the vibe of this book. It's very, you know, Roaring Twenties flapper-esque, but with magic. And a lot of this, you know, the sort of post-World War I stuff is kind of infused in here as well. There was a sort of, again, it's a sort of secondary world version of World War I that happened like maybe 20 years ago in this world. And a lot of dredging up the past kind of things are happening in this investigation. I'm really enjoying this. Basically, it's just a really sort of a lighter kind of palate cleanser. It's not cozy. There are stakes. There's definitely some stakes, but like it's just a fun kind of page turner with a really cute deuteragonist couple, and this at the center of it, of these two, this married couple who, you know, they're very much in love with each other, and they support each other and respect each other, and they're doing all these things together, and it's just very fun. So yeah, I'm really having a good time with it. I'll probably be finishing this, honestly, within the next day or two. And then I can move on to the second book in the series, which just recently came out, so that's exciting as well. So I guess we're doing series September this month. That's what we're doing. Though I do have up on deck, honestly, as soon as I'm finished with the Hexologists, probably what I'm going to be starting is Catabasis. I just picked this up today from my local indie bookstore. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to read this. I'm not gonna sit on this for long, so I'll probably start reading this right after I finish the Hexologists, which is why I'm showing it off now instead of waiting until my big book haul. Because you may or may not know, September is a big book buying and book receiving month for me. It is my birthday month. I'm turning 40 this month, and I just always find myself with a lot of coupons and a lot of, you know, and usually some birthday gifts and things like that, and so I always end up buying a ton of books in September. So I will be doing like a big haul video probably towards the end of the month or the beginning of October. I'll do like a big giant haul video because I'm not done buying books this month. I've already bought a bunch and I'm not done. So that's what's looking forward to. But then I did also watch 2 films this week. I just on a whim, I felt like watching a movie and pulled up the Criterion channel, and they have a lot of 70s neo-noirs and thrillers on there right now. And so I watched Night Moves, and this was directed by, oh, and of course I looked up his name and now his name escapes me. I'll probably put it on the screen somewhere. But it's directed by the same guy who did Bonnie and Clyde. And it's from 1975, and it stars Gene Hackman. It's very good mid-1970s, like post-Watergate neo-noir about a guy who's, you know, Gene Hackman was so good at playing these kinds of guys that are like almost a classic noir protagonist, right? Where he's like, he really wants to be a decent guy, but the world that he inhabits is very, very not decent, like the opposite of decent, and he's having a lot of, he's really struggling, and he's trying to find the truth, and the truth is always way worse than you would ever expect it to be, and it's very, it was a very just enjoyable watch. Gene Hackman is always a joy to watch. It's, you know, really unfortunate that we lost him this year, but yeah, so I had a really good time with Night Moves. And then the other film that I watched this week is a very important film. It's a documentary film called Bring Them Home, and it is about the work and the project of the Blackfeet Nation to bring wild buffalo back to their ancestral land, the Blackfeet Reservation in Montana. And I was lucky enough to be able to attend a screening, after which there was a Q&A with one of the filmmakers, Ivy McDonald, and she has some really interesting things to say. This is a really beautiful, really important little documentary film that I honestly think everybody should watch. I feel like it's been really serendipitous this year. I've been experiencing a lot of and learning a lot about the genocide of the American buffalo in the 19th century and the struggles to bring it back from the brink of extinction in the 20th and 21st centuries. Just this year, right, between going to a natural history museum in January, where there was a large section of that museum was dedicated to the slaughter of the buffalo and the conservation attempts to bring it back, plus this film, and also Stephen Graham Jones's Buffalo Hunter, which I really loved, is a really good read and has a lot to do with this as well. It's just, I don't really know what to say about it, except that it's just been an interesting thing that keeps popping up for me this year for some reason. And I've been learning a lot about it, and I do think that this documentary is very good and very worth your time. And the best part is, this documentary will be broadcast nationwide in the United States on PBS in November, I believe November 13th, but you want to double check your listings for it. Because yeah, it is going to be broadcast on PBS in the United States, which is great, which means everybody should be able to watch it in November. So yeah, that is what I got this week. It's a bit of a short one. I'm kind of busy this weekend, so I don't have a lot of time, but that's okay. I'm still reading a lot. I read every day. I'm enjoying all of the books that I'm reading, honestly, and having a good time and watching some good movies. Let me know in the comments below what you think of any of the books that I have talked about here. Are you reading Calabasas? What do you think about it? And what movies have you watched? What movies are you looking forward to? Etc. And that's it. That's all I got. We'll see you in the next one. Like this video if you like, subscribe if you want, and that's it. See you later. Bye.